Hello, 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 and welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. As always, I am your host, Sully, and today we have a guest. We never have guests. First time having a guest, and it's not Barry. Barry's always here.
Relatively always.
He's here until he's not here.
It's all in context.
He's here until he's not here.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Some enthusiasm for our guest. Be excited. Come on.
Highest energy always wins, John.
Always.
Yes.
Oh, that's a throwback.
Hey, remember that. Hey, remember that. Highest energy always wins. So I'm excited, but I'm very, very excited that Nick is here to join us.
It's good to be here.
So nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks
So
for having me.
who's Nick? In the words of one of my nephews, who's constantly saying who his favourite uncle is, Nick is my favourite nephew. So
I'm going to clip that and send that to my brothers.
None of your other nephews watch this episode.
So Nick is my oldest nephew. We have a long history together, and he's been on some of my programs. He's done Sales Explosion. He argued with me in Sales Explosion.
Yeah.
I had fun watching him argue with me in Sales Explosion. He's a Zimbabwean.
Yeah.
By birth, by background, and I love the saying that you said today, by essence.
Essence. Yeah.
By essence, he's a Zimbabwean, but lives in Australia, comes back to Zim quite a lot.
Yeah. Once a year, I think. Yeah.
Once a year. Recently got married, and is your area of expertise is real estate, because that's what you studied, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, so I studied finance and I did a double degree in finance and then real estate and property development. And now I work for a property developer, but I've worked for a number of different agencies on the Gold Coast. But as you know, I've obviously been in different businesses doing mainly sales. So sales, I would say, was probably...
So you have a strong sales background. Did you hear that? So he has a double degree.
Yeah.
So you are very clear that he is my nephew, he's not my son. Because I don't have anything close to a degree, let alone a double friggin' degree. But anyway, it probably comes from your mother.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because most of the real estate side of the degree I've never used.
Okay.
So it's ticking a box to get to a place, which, as I'm sure we'll get into, is quite a common thing in the first world.
Yeah.
Probably not so much here in Africa, but there you've got to get the paper to get the job, to get the thing.
I think surprisingly it's still a huge thing here.
Really?
Still massive. People.
We have a lot of degree people with no jobs.
Yeah.
True.
You know, so in fact, in my second book, A Salesman's Journey, there's a wonderful chapter there that talks about smart, stupid people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So you live in Aussie. You've been there for 10 years.
Yep.
You've been back in and out of Zim in South Africa for a while, and you're looking at the different options, because if it's good with you, you're looking at the real possibility of coming back to Africa now that you're going to have a child, and you're married and you're going to have a child and you've got different responsibilities.
Yep.
Is a real thought of coming back home.
Yeah, well, I guess it is a bit of a turning point having a baby, and you start to put a few more things into perspective and look at life a little bit differently. It's not just you're going to be looking after, you and your partner. It's now a whole new thing. So support systems is a big thing for us. But yeah, as you mentioned on the intro, like my essence is Zimbabwean. I'm African by I guess my conditioning. So moving back here just makes sense in the long run. So yeah, we definitely will do. There's a couple of things that we still need to finish in Australia.
Yeah.
A few more sort of things to tick off the list. But yeah, we'll definitely look to move back at some stage for sure.
So you're in property. You're in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. When I say corporate world, you have a job. You work for a big property developer.
Yep.
But you also an entrepreneurial flair. And your wife is an entrepreneur. She's
Yes.
very entrepreneurial.
Yep.
She loves new ideas, and you guys.
She loves starting things.
Yeah.
That I take over.
Yeah. Okay. So she's the starter. She's a bit of a visionary.
Correct.
Can see stuff. Wants to get things going.
Yep.
And you guys went through a stage where you built a really successful, and I call it a small business, but a really successful small business doing coffee.
Yes. So we.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's friggin'.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, he talks to me about property and selling these big high-rise buildings and all that, and that's great. I'm like, that's nice. And then he talks to me about this home-brewed coffee, and I'm like, now we're talking, because that's real business.
Yes. So I guess for us that was the fun business. It was something we enjoyed. It's not something that made us a lot of money, and I think it probably looked more successful than it really was.
Imagine that. As many businesses do. You know, it's the picture of the swan or the duck.
Yeah.
Looks nice and pretty on the top. Underneath, it's freaking paddling like hell. It's trying to survive. Most people are not honest enough to say that.
Yeah. So look, it was that business was. It'll always, I think, for me, will be something that we let go.
Yeah.
It was a hard decision, but it wasn't making us what we were putting in. We weren't getting out what we needed from it. But it was, and I say getting out, I mean getting capital out.
Yeah.
It was giving us a lot of entertainment and a lot of really good stories, which has its own value. Do you know what I mean? It's a different value, but ultimately, when we made the decision to start having a family, money obviously makes a big part of sort of that future. So it's something that one day I'd love to pick up again. But basically, what we did was we actually bought a small business off some friends. We just loved the idea, or should I say, Tyler loved the idea. She thought about it, quite a bit, and said, I remember she came home and she's like, I'm going to buy it. And I'm quite a risk-averse person by default, so I said to her, like, are you sure? Like, there's all these things, like, it's not going to make you a heap of money. And eventually it was like, well, look, at the end of the day, we're all going to die, and there's no ways that this isn't going to be a cool story.
Yeah.
So we took it on, do you know what I mean? And she, I'll never forget basically the whole business was, we were creating a coffee product. It was a cold brew concentrate, and we would go to markets and sell cold brew coffee. It was sort of a new trend at the time. This was probably 5 years ago. And it was just kicking off, and we may have been a little bit too early, because now you see cold brew coffee everywhere.
Yeah.
So, a lot of it was getting around what is cold brew coffee? So we were selling a lot at the market stalls, but her first market stall, she set up her tent on her own and a little table, and like looking back at the photos, you look back and laugh and think, how on earth did that was a good idea. But it rained. So she got there, she set up, and it just rained for 4 hours. And she came home and she cried, and she was like, this is horrible. But she went back the next week, and the next week, and the next week.
She did what most business owners want to do.
Correct. Yeah, she was just persistent.
Get through the grind.
Correct. And she could kind of see maybe something I couldn't at that stage.
Yeah.
And slowly each market we got better, and then we created an online business, through Shopify, and we started shipping, and that was a whole learning curve in itself, how to box and pack and the right apps to use, and the email mailing lists and all of these fun things. And building that side of the business I really enjoyed. And then from there we started approaching businesses and selling the product, and by that stage the product had completely changed. We'd redone the packaging, beautiful. The bottle was changed. The whole sort of logo, our whole branding, everything had changed. And we were really proud of what we were doing. So we started approaching businesses, bars, cafes, and selling wholesale to them. So we had 3 sort of avenues with this business. But at the same time, Tyler was working as a travel agent, and I was working as a real estate agent. So we had these 2 full-time jobs, and we had this thing that was becoming bigger than.
So you had a full-time business that you were running part-time.
Yeah, correct. And as you probably know, myself and Tyler, we do like a party every once in a while. So we do like our music. So we started getting into the music festival scene, and that was more the fun side of the business, but that required a lot of work. So it would be a 3 or 4 day setup. We'd have a full refrigerated truck. You know, we would wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. We would sell coffee from 6 until probably 5 in the afternoon, and then from 5 until 2 in the morning we would party, and then we would wake up at 6, and we would do that 3 days in a row. And it was really good. Like, we've got stories from those times that, you know, we'll tell for the rest of our lives, and there's, like I mentioned, there's a lot of value in that. But oh man, it was tiring. It was hard and it was tiring, but it was fun. So eventually that business came to a close, and we sort of thought we're just going to put a bit more focus into our actual careers. Yeah. And it's always there. We've still got the IP, and if, you know, we come back to Zim, that's always an option that we could open up if we come back to South Africa or whatever.
So do you think that if you had have taken the back door out, as in if both of you had no option of having full-time jobs, it would have made you work it a lot harder?
We would have had to. So I think with a lot of startups in particular, and you'll hear a lot of like successful business people talk about how they went all in.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew that that was the case, so we had to make a decision. It was either we continued to grow our careers, or we dropped everything and we went into this business. So it was a hard choice, because it was a baby to us. You know,
See, I love that, because the reason I asked that question is this. I believe there's too many aspiring business owners who think they can run a full-time business part-time while they are running. And you know, I'm very clear on this. If you want to run a part-time business, build a network marketing business. Yeah. Because it's designed to be part-time. It's designed to run in pockets of hours outside of your job. But if you really want to build a successful business, quit your job. Because then you're all in. But understand that with all in, you can be all out.
It will always be a side hustle unless you go all in.
100%. So you guys hear that? Say it again. It'll always be a
side hustle unless you go all in.
Yeah. In our world, you're not allowed to use the word hustle. Our determination of hustle is something that is done illegally and illicitly to gain a legal means. I understand. I understand the global meaning of hustle, but we're often talking in South African terms. We see people that are doing hustles, and they are hustling the shit out of people. And they think they're going to make lots of money, and everyone gets abused. And so jokingly, but it is that concept of the side hustle, the side business. But that's what it'll stay. Yeah. And I think you agree. You got to be honest in yourself that that's what it is.
I'd go as far as saying there's no such thing as a side business. There is a business, or you have a job, or you have a career. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think there's a side business. It might start off that way, but if it's going to be a business, it needs to be a full-time.
I love that. Yeah. Any comments on your side on that?
Side hustles.
On that concept of really being focused on the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, it like applies to everything, right? No matter what the business is, you've got to go in 100%. Right, and I love the fact, because that would have been my question, is like, when did you guys, how long along the line did you guys go, okay, cool, we're not going to go all in on this. Let's call it quits and focus on how long did you go down that process?
Or if we are going to go all in, when do we go, how are we going to do this?
So I think it's a great question, because for us, the decision to close the business.
John, it's your first this year.
I know.
And it really is, because that was the biggest dilemma for us was actually closing the business, and it's letting go of something you've put so much time.
It's like a baby.
Yeah, correct. It is. It's like you've put all this time and effort and had all this, and to say, you know, we're no longer going to do this thing. It's disappointing, but I think, like, the best businessmen that I know, they fail quickly. And if you fail fast, you move on to the next thing, you learn the lessons, because failing slowly is probably the worst thing you can do. And we, in this particular situation, we making the decision was failing slowly. Like, we hung on to a lot of the things. Like, one of the things, for example, which I don't know if I'll ever get rid of, to be fair, we bought a 1986 VW Combi.
I see this thing, Chuck.
So it's like a teal blue, like a surf blue colour. It's a cab and a half, so it's got a back, and we built a beautiful timber.
Just another peace sign on the front.
Got a peace sticker on the inside. So, and we put 4 taps on it, and eventually, so from this tiny little tent that we had with a folding table, we would arrive at a market in this beautiful car with taps on the back. So we started from there. So just to sort of look back at how far the business had come, and then say like, okay, look, we're going to have to cut this. And like, it's, to some people it might have been a successful business, but we just couldn't see us scaling that any further. And it's like, at some stage you have to realize that there is an opportunity cost, and you can continue to put time and effort into this thing, or you can completely stop it and take the risk and move on to something else.
Yeah, and that's a good decision.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people get stuck.
Yeah.
Is and the reality is I mean, I'll go back to it. What was your spirit telling you?
Oh man, my spirit's a bit confused, I think. It
Okay.
was telling me a lot of things. I think deep down I knew it was never going to be the thing I was always going to do.
So you know that when I say that 3 o'clock in the morning, when you wake up and you're there by yourself and you know the truth,
Mm-hmm.
that truth, and often that truth's hard. It's like,
Yeah.
the truth is, I know that I've got to shut this down, or I know that I've got to move out of this, or I know that I'll move here, because that, and I believe a lot of times in business, it's being obedient to that, and as soon as you make that decision,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you guys made the decision, I'm going to hazard a guess, it created some freedom.
Correct. Yeah, definitely.
It suddenly opens the space up to do other things.
Other things, yeah. And we don't look at it as a loss. Like, the amount that we learned from building this business from nothing, is invaluable. So I think that's the thing. A lot of people fail and they think, oh, I'm never going to do that again. Like, we would do that, or run a business or start a business in a heartbeat. But now we're experienced, so now we know
you can start any business.
Yeah,
because the principles are exactly the same.
yeah, correct.
I mean, if you were to start your own property business,
Mm-hmm.
the principles are exactly the same.
Well, I have actually in the last year. So I've just started my
Sure.
own business, and at the moment I'm just working for one developer.
Yeah.
And the idea is to sort of grow that business. But yeah, that has started.
So would you agree? You got to sell.
Good.
Whether you're in coffee or real estate,
Mm-hmm.
you got to sell.
Well, I think probably your first book, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
is the sale. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Every decision you make, in your head, there's a sale takes place.
Yeah.
You either decide to do something, you sell yourself and a reason to do it, or a reason not to do it.
Mm.
So I think sales is super important. I think it's one of the things that a lot of people really don't think about, but they really should.
You've got to build processes.
Correct.
So what I'm hearing is you got into the stage where it was like, okay, great idea, let's package this and send it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have realized, oh shit, we need a process.
Yeah.
And you got to get deliberate in that process. How are you going to pack it? Where are you going to pack it? Who's going to put it? When's it going to be sent?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it becomes a shit show.
Yes.
And you can. That's the same in a coffee business as it is in a real estate business.
Correct.
So the principles of business, the core fundamentals, are very similar in all businesses.
And I'd say, all businesses across the whole world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What happens in Australia and what happens here is exactly the same
Yes.
thing. We're playing the same game.
Yeah.
The environment you find yourself in is different, but the principles are the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think, like we were talking about it last night, the framing is different.
Yeah.
The rule set that you are working with is maybe more rigid in the first world. So, I don't know, let's compare it to a cricket match. That's probably played on a field, where there's set rules, there's umpires. In Africa, you might be playing garden cricket. It's the same game.
Yeah,
It's just
I like that.
you can
Someone will get pissed off with it, but who?
That's why we do this podcast, to piss people off.
But I think
But it's a great analogy because there's playing international cricket under the scrutiny of a whole lot of people versus playing garden cricket. The game is exactly the same,
correct.
but the context is different.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that one is more important than the other. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that the rules of the game and the way they're enforced are slightly different.
And if you're going to play garden cricket, it's very competitive.
Yeah, and it can be more fun as well.
Yeah.
So
But you have to understand the rules of
Still
garden
rules.
cricket.
correct, but you can also create the rules as you go.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean don't pay tax and all these things. I'm just saying there's more freedom here. And like for me, and I'm sure for people who've lived in both the first world and you know in Africa, you'll be able to see the differences. Like you can be very good at playing a game in a system with rigid rules and rigid enforcement. Like you can just be really good at that, but you can also come here and be really good at playing the game here.
Yeah.
There's very, very successful people here, and there's people doing things here that you'll never see there. And that's so cool, do you know what I mean?
So you look at, I mean, one of my favourite things that I often teach in an event is people say to me, yeah, but there's no opportunities in South Africa, and you know, if you go across to Australia, there's more opportunities, and I'll never forget you saying to me, Uncle Barry, you should come live in Australia. And my response typically was, why would I want to do that? And I think if I remember right, you said, because everything works here.
Yeah.
And I said, that's why I wouldn't want to live here, because everything works.
Yeah.
And I think because everything works, there's a different set of rules, there's a different game, and you've got to understand that game.
Correct.
I understand the game of where things don't work, and I want to find stuff to make them work.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, neither's better or worse than the other. They're just different.
Yeah.
And my psyche and my brain is, I'm not going to complain that there's potholes. I'm not going to complain there's potholes if I want to live in an environment where I deem there's lots of opportunities because there's problems.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people will complain, I want a world like Australia where everything works, but I also want all the opportunities, where I can just decide to start a business tomorrow and start selling.
Yeah.
You can't just do that in Australia, can you?
No.
There's tight regulations, and if you have a coffee business, it's a coffee business. You can't. Well, you're in the game of hospitality and selling. You can't just on the sideline say, "Hey, I think we can throw some books into our coffee shop and start selling books and become a bookseller." It's a lot harder to do than it is in a place like here.
Correct. It's not impossible to do. It's just it is a lot harder to do. And like we're talking about this morning, we're walking through a little boutique shop, and you see all these different products from all these different companies and people. You don't tend to find that as much in the first world. You have these big organizations, and because of that red tape, these smaller businesses don't seem to get to that size. They sort of die out because it wears them down. Whereas here, you've got just heaps more people starting businesses and doing these things. Whereas there, you've got these big companies. I was saying to Barry earlier, in Australia, there's two main supermarkets, and everyone shops at those two. They have sort of a monopoly, a duopoly on the whole market. There's one major hardware store, everybody goes there, Bunnings. There's 3 major insurance companies. There's 4 major banks. And everybody knows this, but it all sort of funnels upwards, and all the smaller players eventually fizzle out, and it's the bigger players that maintain market share. Whereas here, you have much more of an opportunity. So I'd argue that there's far more opportunity here than there is there.
I love what you're saying, Nick, because that's my firm belief. I mean, you and I were talking about it, and Sully and I are often talking about this. My firm belief is that Africa is the new frontier in the world.
Correct.
Yet, is it perfect? Definitely not. Do we have problems? Many, but that's why I believe we have such a great opportunity on the African continent.
Yeah.
And I mean, you live, and we call it the first world, you live in Australia, a highly developed country. My view is that Australia, I think, are going to go through some problems.
Yep.
I definitely think America and Europe are going to go through serious economic problems.
Yeah.
And in Africa, we've had major problems. We have the opportunity to really dig down, build businesses, and create some growth, and make a change from a base. I mean, to make big change in Australia is very different to making big change here.
Yeah.
Because you're competing in a very different market where there's less problems, there's less opportunities, there's a lot more structure.
Yeah.
A lot of things have already been built.
They've been done already, yeah.
And so, we hear so many people saying, "Oh, there's no opportunity in South Africa." I mean, I'll put it out there. I just think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I think the opposite is true. Is it easy? No. And I think that's the difference. Is people want it to be easy. They have this perception that it needs to be easy. It's not. It's damn hard. Anyway, it's hard.
Yeah.
But the opportunity, if you're prepared to apply yourself, is massive here.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Do you see a lot of sort of, even though like there's tight regulations to starting business in Australia, do you see a lot of the younger generation like starting businesses, or are they going more into jobs, like corporate jobs? Is there a lot of, like, what's the entrepreneurship space like?
The younger generation want to do nothing and make money, Joe. They don't want to start a business or go work. No, I'm joking.
Look,
It's all about Australia, not South Africa.
I think
Yeah, the global phenomenon, I think.
there's probably two sort of ways to differentiate what younger people are sort of looking at the moment. I think the first, okay, is where you live, and there are definitely differences. In Australia, there's bound to be more people that are going to work for a business and become an employee. And I was talking to Barry about this morning. It's very easy there, and it's very safe. So a lot of people take less risk. Running a business, starting a business, is an incredibly risky thing to do.
Yeah.
But there's the opportunity to go and work a retail job, and you can earn 60,000 Australian dollars a year, which would be 600,000 rand, which is, I think it's around minimum wage in Australia.
And you can live a reasonable life. In
Yeah,
Australia.
100%. You can live a really good life on that. And most people are very comfortable
Safe
doing
life.
that. Correct.
Comfortable,
Safe
safe
life,
life.
yeah.
And it's funny because when you are in that system, the thing you miss is the freedom and the how do I say this? You have to take more risks here. You have more fun doing it here, I think, than you do there. It's very blocky there.
Okay.
Everything is in a rigid system, and you follow the steps, and then you get there. And if you do the steps in the right order, you're sort of successul. But to answer your question,
But you're
there's definitely
successful to a degree that the success tells you. So play your. You can be in the retail environment. You can go to work every day. You can do your job well. You get paid nicely. You get your bonus. You can and you'll go through it and have a comfortable life.
correct.
But to knock the lights out,
Yeah.
where
Yeah, 100%.
is
It's
very
hard. But well, again, the conversation from this morning, we're just talking about Maslow's hierarchy. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a pretty simple sort of hierarchy in psychology that most courses will talk about it. And you've got the basic sort of human needs at the bottom, and towards the top you have self-actualization, like, does my life have meaning?
Yeah.
So the problem with Australia in particular, at least this is what I see, is that most people can go and work a retail job and live a comfortable life and forecast the next 5 years. They have $20,000 in the bank, it's saving at 5% interest, they know that they're going to be able to buy a house and do this, and they can literally forecast the next 20 years. You almost can't do that here because it is such a dynamic place. Things are changing all the time. But
and they don't need to find purpose.
No, they don't. But they don't. But they have more time to think about it.
Okay.
Whereas more people here are spending time trying to survive, trying to get food, get shelter, feed their families.
Yeah.
They spend way less time in that top part.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that's a bad thing, because when you look at the first world, developed countries, right, there are much higher rates of depression and suicide. And the reason being, I think, is that people are spending more time thinking about whether their life has purpose. Whereas here, you are living in the moment.
You don't have
You
time.
have to do it.
And it's such an interesting thing, because people here will complain about that, but it's the one thing that I really miss being there, is that, it's the dynamism that you have to have. And I think by default, developing countries have to be, or people living in those areas have to be more dynamic. You have to be making a plan. Something changes, okay, what do we do? Whereas there you can forecast, you have cash flow, you know what's happening, you know what you're saving. So I think by default, you catch up. Developing countries become developed countries for a reason, right? You have to work harder to get there. People become, you start to rest on your laurels when you're in a system that works and everything is
Until
fine.
that system breaks.
Correct. And it does. It always has.
It will break.
Yes.
Because you can't keep. I mean, I think it's seeing it a bit in the States, but in Australia you have that. It's a 401k.
No, so it's
superannuation.
Yeah,
So in America you have a 401k. In Australia you have superannuation, and that's your retirement fund or your provident fund.
correct. Very, very similar concept, slightly different in that I think 401k for most people is a voluntary thing, so you can.
Okay.
And you can, but with Australia it's fixed.
Yeah, so you have to put into superannuation.
You have no say.
Yeah.
So your employer will pay 10% of your salary into an investment fund, and that will sit there growing with those those funds coming in until you're 65, and at that stage you have your retirement sorted. So it's almost
as long as nothing disastrous happens, as long as there's no inflation or not huge inflation, as long as there's no major change in governments, as long as there's no major change, but should there be any major upheaval, any major devaluation in the Aussie dollar, any huge inflation, then you'll be on a hiding to nothing. But it's never happened yet in terms of the thing, so people are very secure in the belief that it's never going to happen.
Correct, and there's further sort of safety nets that are built into that. So there's insurance schemes that are built into that superannuation. So if you lose your job, for example, if you have a bad accident, you have an insurance component that's built into that. So there's that, and then there's obviously government systems as well. There's a Centrelink system, which is if you lose your job, the government will pay you money until you find a job. Yeah, as long as exactly.
Okay.
So
funding people to do nothing so that they can still live.
Correct. So for most people that aren't ambitious and they don't want to start a business, they can become an employee and they can live a comfortable life, and that's fine. For a lot of people, that is perfectly fine.
I don't know if you know this. Do you know what the national debt is for Australia?
I don't know the national debt, no.
Okay.
But we have, in terms of household debt, if I'm not mistaken, it's the highest household debt per capita in the world.
Okay. And that's where the risk lies.
Correct. So Australia,
in America, the risk lies in their national debt.
Correct.
So
that's the problem.
I think they're sitting close to 40.
Yeah, I think it's $38 trillion.
You came out here. Oh, when we were in Australia, when you came with me to Sydney, when we went and I spoke with Robert.
Yeah.
And you came to that event, and I think then he was talking about America being at 19 trillion.
It's so funny because I remember sitting at the back of the room and Robert was like, buy physical silver. Silver. And I remember sitting there thinking, this guy's got no idea what he's talking about. And now, the last two, all I've been doing is buying sort of silver stocks, and I got onto it a little bit too late, I think. But all of this is happening now, and if you look across the board, this is something that I have a great interest in, with the American economy in particular, is everyone seems to think that the American dollar is getting weaker, all these assets are appreciating, but it's really just the American dollar debasing and getting weaker. Every single asset class pretty much is hitting all-time highs. Gold, silver, cryptocurrencies.
Platinum made a strong comeback as well.
But tech stocks, all these things are really, really kicking off, and it's not so much because they are getting more valuable, it's because the dollar's getting weaker. So people are starting to store value in different things.
So there's real risk that the American dollar will collapse.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not an economist by any means, but yes, I think it's bound to happen. If you look, there's a...
So if that collapses, so you go back to Aussie, for example, or you go to Europe, if that collapses, what's the... and that's the risk. That's the play-on effect. And that's the risk where you've tied everything up in a superannuation, or I'm going to be okay. I mean, Zimbabwe's maybe not a unique example, but I can remember my dad, your grandfather, when he pulled his first pension out. When he took it out when he was 18, he said it was a shitload of money. And it would be wonderful when he was retired. And I can remember when he took his pension out, his first pension that he took out when he was 18, when he turned 65. He came home, and pretty much it brought us a couple of beers, a dinner at a restaurant, and a couple of rounds of golf, and that was about it. That's all it was worth then. And yes, I understand that the country went through a lot of stuff, and there was huge. But the reality is that's the risk when we just tie up in a system that we believe is going to hold us in that space until it doesn't hold us in that space.
On the flip side, starting a business is the same thing. You are putting something into a long-term plan that you believe is going to keep value,
which you have more control over.
Correct.
So that's my only thing, is that I control where my money goes.
But in saying that, yes and no, because you can start a business and the economy can tank.
Yes.
Your business suffers from that. It's the same thing as having money in the bank.
So my
It's a
business
bank
will
run
suffer
or-
from it.
Yes, correct.
However,
You have a little bit more influence.
however, if I have, so like over COVID, I mean our business tanked in COVID.
Mhm.
We're in a training business, tanked in COVID. However, in that moment, we could make a decision on how we were going to pivot, where we were going to act,
Yeah.
what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, where we needed to save money, put money, push money. We could do that. When your money's tied up in somebody else's hands
Mhm.
and the whole thing tanks, you have no control over it whatsoever.
I think
So
with the
that
401k
doesn't-
and superannuation in particular,
Yeah.
because there isn't anything you can do about it.
100%.
For sure.
And that's where the majority of people are living. Whereas I think if you come back to your opportunity in Africa, I think a lot of people are sitting going, the opportunity is actually in creating something else.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity. The opportunity is not in the system. So in Australia, the
No, it's
system
just in the
may
system.
keep going for 50 years.
Yeah.
And people will create an opportunity out of the system.
Mhm.
Whereas here, the opportunity is not in the system.
Yeah.
The opportunity is in how do we solve the problems, and that's why I love what you say. It's that excitement and fun. If you have excitement and fun
Mhm.
of being out there and being able to do stuff to create a difference,
Yeah.
understanding that there is a risk. It's starting a business. My belief is one of the riskiest things you'll ever do in your life.
Well, it's 94% of business startups fail.
Yeah, you talked about the stat the other day in South Africa. After 3 years, 86%. Or after 2 years, 86% of businesses in South Africa fail after 3 years.
Yeah.
So
So this goes back to the point, fail quickly.
yes, and actually that's a wonderful. I love that because
Yeah.
fail quickly, get up. Most people fail and then quit,
And go back
or
to
they
their
fail
jobs.
too slowly and then blame why it doesn't work and go back to their job.
So I can't take credit for that quote. There is a guy who said it, and he is the most successful person pretty much of all time. It's Elon Musk.
Yeah,
So his whole thing is fail quickly, learn from the mistake, fail quickly cut.
Yeah.
So hire slowly, fire fast.
yeah.
It's the same concept. Is you want the right people, and when they're making the mistakes and it's jeopardizing your business, fire quickly.
Yeah,
So-
FIFO.
FIFO.
Yeah, fit in or.
That's great. I love it. That's really good.
So,
Yeah, I'm going to use that one. Yeah.
And I think, and that's why I wanted to chat with you because it's this concept that that the old saying, grass is greener on the other side. Well, grass is greener on the other side, one, because sometimes there's more shit, so there's a little bit more manure to do your grass. But even if you think it is,
Yeah.
what you think is green when you get there is not necessarily green.
Yeah.
It looks green from where you're at, and if you don't know how to play by those rules,
Mhm.
it turns brown pretty fast, doesn't it?
Well, I think the correct way to say that saying is the grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where you are, and there's no opportunities. It's like, well, there's opportunities everywhere. You've just got to be looking for them.
Hundreds.
So if you are looking for those
Problem is, most
opportunities, if
people
you
are
are
watering it, they're
Yeah.
pissing on it.
correct, well, it still makes it.
Oh, so most people are waiting
Well, for a while
for the
until
right opportunity.
it's too much uric acid, but
Yeah.
then and I use that analogy because people are sitting in a place where there are lots of opportunities.
Mhm.
They're standing on the green grass, but they can't actually see the green grass that they have.
Yeah.
So they're actually destroying what they have because they want something else over there.
Yeah.
Instead of actually looking, going, I'm not naive. Do we have problems? Yes. But do we have opportunities? Yes. So where are the opportunities? Be aware of the problems, but go after the opportunities in the right way
Yeah.
and play that game, surely.
Mhm.
'Cause if you come back, you're going to have to learn a new set of rules. You're still going to play by the same principles,
Correct.
but you have to learn a new set of rules.
Yes.
If you come to South Africa or you go back to Zim or wherever, you're going to learn a new set of rules.
Yep.
You may decide to go to Brazil. I just pull that out. But if you go to Brazil, you're going to have to learn a
New set of rules.
You've just come back from Mexico City,
Yeah, well.
and the wonderful opportunity of going to watch the Formula One at
Oh,
Mexico
wow.
City. Hey,
That's crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
for on the tab of Heineken.
In tab of Heineken,
Hey.
indeed. Thanks,
That's what,
Heineken.
free beer.
Yeah, pretty much.
free beer racing.
Yeah.
But if you go to Mexico City, you're going to have to learn a whole
Whole new
set
set
of
of
but the
rules.
principles of business
Yeah.
and the principle of life are still the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
100%. It's the same. It's the same game. It's like we said, analogy before. It's the same game. It's just the rules change slightly.
how important has been working on your mindset?
Look, I think just with what I do, there's a lot of rejection in sales. Any salesperson will tell you.
Yeah.
So mindset is incredibly important. Always trying to do something that gets me one step closer to being better at what I'm doing. It's definitely an important thing, I think.
And you spend a lot of, because we teach, and we teach that mindset's the single most important thing. And you talked about little voice, and you talked about just now the sale, but it's that ability and knowing you spent a lot of time working on yourself, yes?
Yeah.
And you work on yourself more. You spend more time working on yourself than putting stuff into yourself, as in information. Because you can find the information, but you need to be able to utilize that information when the time comes.
Yeah, look, I think information and knowledge is very important, and I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, don't take that as seriously as they should. An information diet.
Comes to
we call it. Yeah. Well, we have access to more information than we ever have,
and that we need.
But a lot of people don't realize what they are consuming. And there's a guy, not too sure if you know Alex Hormozy, big beard.
Yeah.
He says you are what you are. You are what you consume. If you want to change what you are, change what you consume.
100%.
And so many people are just doom scrolling, and there's nonsense on there. How does that benefit you? It doesn't.
But that becomes their conditioning.
Yeah.
And that becomes how they think.
Correct. But that's also just a little thing to just improve yourself. Like, just try and be aware of what you are consuming.
Yeah, stop watching shit.
Yeah, 100%.
No, it's so crazy because it's such a small thing, but people don't actually pay attention to it.
No.
But when you do it for 2 hours non-stop, every day of your life,
it becomes you.
And we all do. I mean, these are massive tech companies that are, that's their job, is to keep you engaged on a platform as long as possible.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily your fault. They are hacking human biology.
Oh, yeah.
But it's being aware of that. Everyone knows they spend too much time on their phone.
No, it is your fault. Because we know this.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, do we get sucked in? Yes, but we know it. There's not many people that don't know it.
Yeah.
So we can abdicate the responsibility and say, we talked about it the other day, it's like the guy recently in South Africa that was bust doing 220 plus on the highway and said, it's not my fault, it's the manufacturer's fault, they shouldn't let my car go that fast.
That's my favorite excuse of all time.
It's like, get real, dude.
Yeah.
But the reality, and so are we consciously stopping utilizing technology if we know what it's going to do? What are your rules around technology? So I think those type of things are critical.
I don't think it's stopping utilizing technology. I actually think it's understanding how to curate your algorithm for what you want.
Big word.
Curate is not a big word. For me.
For you and me, that's a big word. What you trying to impress Nick?
No, because that's what you do. You curate your algorithm, right?
No, you do.
So like Nick said, Alex Hormozy. So if you watch an Alex Hormozy video, you scroll. The feed, the algorithm will show you more videos like that. So
okay.
A Barry video will.
So is that the terminology, curating?
Yeah. So you can actually set up.
Yeah.
Have you never had it when like a whole bunch of the same thing from different
always,
places? But it's the same thing.
Go shopping on Temu and you'll see that you look for some new cycling shoes and suddenly for the next 3 weeks you get offered cycling shoes on Temu.
I swear, it's like by the end of next year you're gonna get sponsored by Temu. You see, your curation of Temu, that's where you're at right now.
Yeah.
But you can actually do that with your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, with all your social media platforms. You can curate what you want to see. And most people, and like you actually said it now, is people have just become conditioned to seeing the nonsense that they see, and they're okay with it.
But it also justifies the existence.
100%.
But it's
so if you keep if you keep getting the same stuff and it justifies your position in life, then you can take less responsibility.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you one last thing before we finish up, and you've just talked about being in sales and sales being one of the most important skills in business and in life. You said something to me this morning that is really important. You talked about, you really started your sales career in door-to-door sales, didn't you?
Not necessarily. In Australia, yes.
Yes.
So I started my sales career in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, you were selling commodity. Well, not commodity. You were selling products.
Correct. So I guess just to give you a quick overview, we sold a basket of goods to civil servants in Zimbabwe. So police, the army, the air force, prison officers,
But you had to go meet people
hospitals.
and show them.
So I drove around the whole country, and I was in police stations every second day. I was in, I've been through all of Zimbabwe's prisons.
So you were actually knocking on doors.
Yeah, correct. It was pretty much
target market. You were knocking on doors, walking in, taking products, showing them, cold calling, showing them shit, and closing deals.
Yeah. Correct. And so that sort of set me up for what I started doing. So I was a student first in Australia, and so some of the red tape we can talk about is, as a student or an international student in Australia, you can only work 20 hours a week. So using, I guess, bending the rules a little bit, I set up what they're called an Australian business number, so like a company, but as a sole tradership. So set that up, and then underneath that, I could work 40 hours a week, do my studies, and pay myself a 20-hour-a-week salary, if that makes sense. So kind of getting around the system a little bit, and in that way, I was able to earn a little bit more money than I was if I was just to go work in retail and work 20 hours a week. So doing that, I knocked doors, and I did, knock 100 doors a day, get rejected 40 times, maybe 3 people out of the 40, 50 people you talk to will buy the thing. So a lot of rejection in that, but that was, I guess, the just pivotal point for that, and then from there moving into real estate.
And would you say, because that's how I started my sales career, knocking on doors, selling Johnson & Johnson products. Would you say that gave you unbelievable grounding in selling?
I'd recommend it just for a little bit to any single person to go knock doors.
And once you got into that door-to-door sales, because I think when I came, one of my trips to Brisbane was I went to your offices and you guys were selling products door to door. You were in that cold calling business where you were canvassing. They were given a set of streets. Yeah. And they were dropped off, or they got themselves there, and they literally had to go from door to door, knock on doors, selling shit.
Yeah. I mean, you probably couldn't do it here because everyone's got a big fence around their house, but at least it's a little bit harder to do here. But in Australia, you can walk up to most people's front door.
It's just an excuse here. Most people will say that, I can't do it because no one let me
in.
But the guys that are prepared to do it,
they'll get in there,
make money.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and this morning you said to me, you said one of the key things that you learned was always to ask.
Oh yeah.
So you would close a deal, and then you would do what?
Yeah. So I mean, one of the techniques is upselling. You sell a thing, the person's committed to buying it. You just ask them if they wanted to buy a bigger product or a more product, right? Or more of whatever you're selling. And most of the time, just asking the question, people would say yes. But most people are too scared to ask the question. Yeah. So if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. I think that's so powerful. We teach the real crux of selling is the ability to ask. You ask for the sale, you get the sale. Mm-hmm. But you ask for the upsell.
Yeah. 100%.
And what I loved about what you said is every single call you went on, you would ask for the upsell. Mm-hmm. Not, I figured the guy might be interested, or he wasn't my target market. It became a habit. Became who you were. Mm-hmm. You sold something, you asked them, would you like this?
Yeah.
Worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
But the reality is when you didn't ask, 100% of the time they'd already said no.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Yeah, so just take more shots.
Love that. Any questions from you?
No, I was just here.
Not really.
I'm just recording sound. I'm just producing.
Right, funny enough, you taught me something. It's called curating. Curating. It's interesting.
But that is, just to go back to this before, I know we're wrapping this up, but curating is an information, you are improving your information diet.
Yes.
So you're improving, it is self-improvement to do what you consume.
You do have a choice then, Nick.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I know one of my sources of information in the world is YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm.
But and I'm very good, I've become very good at, now I know the word, curating what I want. Mm-hmm. If I want certain feed on a topic, like, I don't know, let's say I'm following, like right now I'm following this New York City election, to see whether it becomes socialist or not. What I do know is that I can go on and I will find any video with the topic of New York City, and I'll click on it and turn it off, click on it, turn it off, click on it and turn it off. And then what I do know, next time I go on YouTube, the very top feeds will be New York City, which means one, I've learned that it saves me time, and two, it doesn't send me all the other shit that I don't want.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So go back to it. So you do have a choice. If you want to go on there, learn how to use it efficiently and make it efficiently.
Mhm.
Stop complaining that someone's catching you out, because you know they're catching you out.
Mhm.
Because you know that that's their job and that's what they're designed to do. So
It's a business.
if you're going to play their game, understand their rules,
Yeah.
and sort your shit out and manage yourself
Yeah.
Yeah.
and make some decisions in life.
100%. Yeah.
Doesn't matter where we are, there's opportunities.
No, I agree. And like, look, there's definitely, I mean, it's just your frame of mind. There's opportunities absolutely everywhere, and it's sort of how you frame. I mean, you create the story. You are the narrative in your own head, right? So if there are no opportunities, you're right.
There's no opportunities.
And if there are opportunities, you're right. But both times you're right. It's what you tell yourself.
So the second part of this is, and there will be a second part of this at some stage later down the line, is, I loved what you said, is we built that business, the coffee business, and the one thing we loved is we have some amazing stories to tell.
Mm.
And just remember, guys, you forget about the stories because you get lost in the result. You get so hung up about the results not coming that you forget about the stories.
The lessons.
You know, I am about to, as you know, about to do a half Ironman that I've never done before. And when I told Blair Singer, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisor, Blair Singer, that I was going to do it, he said, "Oh, that's amazing, mate."
Mhm.
And he said, "Once you've done it, tell me about the journey." He didn't say, "Once you've done it,
Yeah.
tell me how fast you did it."
Yeah.
He said, "Once you've done it, tell me about what you learnt on the journey."
Yeah.
Because it's the learnings of the journey that allow you to go to the next
Yeah.
level. Whether that coffee business was highly successful, wasn't highly successful, whether you were continuing doing it or you pulled out,
Mhm.
the stories taught you the lessons, and
Yeah.
the lessons are what will grow you into the next step.
And I'll maybe have a quote to close this out.
Very good.
It's something I said at my wedding, so you may remember it, but
Maybe not, because I was having a good time at your wedding.
but there are only good times or good stories.
Love that. There are only good times and good stories.
And that's a wrap.
Thank you for joining us. You go. Nice having you.
Thank you, guys.
Nice having you in our world.
Yeah, it's
Nice
lovely to
having
see
you
you.
fun.
spend time with Suli. So there we go. You see, I do have some decent people in my family.
Finally. Now I'm gonna cut this down. Now I'm gonna cut this thing. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, Nana.